Yo, morning of November 18th, Monday, cruising out to Tennessee and then Texas. Here's the camera setup. Got the Action Pro mounted to the windshield, staring out. Little USB cord running around. Got my other phone mounted here where I can see directions on that one. And then the phone I'm holding is the phone I play podcasts from, and the one that actually pipes through the car with CarPlay while I'm actually driving if I want to chat with ChatGPT. But I was listening to a podcast this morning, Freakonomics, love that podcast, and it's about robotics and AI and all that kind of stuff, and should we fear it, and a lot of people do. But I don't think it's an apocalypse like a lot of people think it is. Just life is going to be different, maybe in a good way. The title was How to Stop Worrying and Love the Robot Apocalypse. Me personally, maybe I'll just bow down to my robot overlords. But it was a good podcast, talking about how robotics are helping people stay employed compared to not employed. One was the healthcare industry, and it was, I think it was in Japan and somewhere else, and talking about cobot style robotics, either the ones that you mount to yourself, like for helping lifting patients, or just assistive type cobots where you just need something else in there because you can't be there to take measurements of, things that patients need, like oxygen saturation, or put a stethoscope on them. Yeah, one of them, the robot actually had a robotic stethoscope. That was actually kind of interesting. But things are going to change over the next 20 years. It's going to be interesting. Is there going to be a lot of people put out of work? Maybe. But I think robotics can actually help people have more work, or sustainable work, to be able to sustain a living. But then it gets into the other thought I was thinking about is everybody needs a purpose. And if you have no money to go after what your purpose is to yourself, then that's where the conundrum comes in. Can we find a way for people to sustain themselves? Let's say gas in the car, food, shelter, healthcare, and then to be able to go after what they want to go after. Like myself, I want to build hot tubs, custom-made hot tubs, custom-made soaking tubs. But the hard part about that is it takes money to make those things. And if I have no income coming in to make those things, then I can't make those things, and it means I can't go after that more. So that's the catch 2022. We need a way to make money to pay the bills to be able to go do what we want to do. Will robotics bring about a need for universal basic income? Maybe. But that's a interesting question, because I think overall free money doesn't give people the motivation to go do anything. It makes them lazy. If I don't have to work for my money and it just comes in, does that make you lazy? Maybe or maybe not. Depends on what your definition of lazy is. Let's say you had an easy 10 grand a month coming in. Help support a family of 4. That's 10 grand a month net, excluding taxes. Let's say after taxes you're bringing home 10. You could support a decent family of 4 in most average cost of living areas. And then you can go do what you want to do. You can go build hot tubs. You could travel the United States in a vehicle because you have that guaranteed income coming in to go support your purpose, your mission, your life, your adventure. I don't know, it's just kind of interesting. But robotics is cool. Seen a lot of robotic stuff. Cobots are neat. think when in the podcast, there's many definitions of cobots. The definition I know of a cobot is basically a robotic arm that's kind of just programmed to do one thing. But other type of assistive robotics, we're starting to see exoskeleton type stuff, like in the medical field, where you can strap on something to help you lift a patient, and that way you're not putting extra strain on your own body. That's kind of interesting. We might see more robotics of just replacing delivery drivers. There's already those drone deliveries. Those are starting to come around. That's kind of interesting. What about robots that can actually change the tires on a semi-truck? Where the truck pulls in, a robot, jacks up the truck, pulls all the tires off. I mean, those things are heavy. You still need machines to help get those things on and off already. What about a robot that can actually pull those off, put new ones on? I saw a video, I think it was in China, where a lot of these semi-trucks were electric. And, we still struggle with the battery technology for long distance and the recharge time. Yes, we have distance that we can get to the same as, full tank of gas for your average vehicle, but it's the recharge time. But instead of recharging the vehicle, they were, so this was semi-truck style batteries. They were actually just swapping the batteries out. That's actually interesting. So let's say you have a Tesla, and I'm not going to be hitting the Buc-ee's on Interstate 40 out near Knoxville because I'm going a different route. But let's say wherever there's a Tesla supercharger station, instead of actually charging the vehicle after driving 300 some odd miles and then having to take, I don't know how long it takes, let's just say it takes an hour to get a full charge, even on a supercharger. That's an hour you got to sit there and wait. But what if you pulled in a location where, the battery is basically under the vehicle, and you pulled in a location, you park your vehicle in a certain spot, robotic thing comes up underneath, drops the battery out, puts a new battery in, all in, say, 5 minutes if we're lucky, and then you're on your way. That's the same as actually getting gas. Pull into a gas station, fill your tank up with gas, and then be on your way. That's actually kind of interesting. Where batteries might not become a purchase, and they're going to become a leased product or a rented product, where you just, pay a certain amount a month for batteries, and you just get a swapped out battery wherever you are. But back on the robotics thing, robotics is going to be interesting over the next 10 to 20 years. Even my young age of the big 5'2", I'll definitely see some stuff in the next 20 years that'll actually maybe improve my life when I start hitting 70. Oh God, that's a long time. Ugh, 70, hell, it's bad enough saying I'm 52. I'm not 52. I'm 39 with 13 years of experience, if my math is correct. What about other jobs like this? Like these guys out here, cutting the grass and weed eating on the freeway. Can that be done with robotics eventually? Most likely that'll get replaced. But those are not necessarily jobs. Those are jobs. But sometimes those jobs are forced jobs because you've been forced into community service because you broke the law or something, and they're making you repay your penalty by hard manual labor. What about roofing jobs? Can roofing jobs, dangerous job, can that be replaced by robotics? I don't know yet. I think so. But there's something about the flexibility and dexterity of humans that robots still really don't have. You're going to be finding those more, I think, robotics in a setting that's more point A to point B type stuff. Pick and place. Let's say shipping and receiving. Look at the Amazon warehouses. There's tons of robotics going around those things. Or let's say, even manufacturing of vehicles, tons of robotics in there. So what does that mean for humans? Do we become more artistic, spiritual? One of my favorite television shows was Stargate. And they called the people that built the Stargate system the ancients, but they're disappeared. But the reason why they disappeared is because they got to such a technological advancement that the only thing to do was to study, research, go after a higher plane of existence and spirituality. Which would be kind of an interesting thought. If you didn't have to work to make money, to have a place to live, what would you do? Well, for myself, if I didn't have to make any money to support my goals, adventures, dreams, I'd definitely be driving all around the country. Even though I'm driving all around the country now, but I have a schedule to keep, so I don't necessarily get to stop all the time, like I'm driving by Lake James State Park. What's over there? But if I wasn't on a schedule, I would just go over there and go look. I would stop at every little place I could, just because, why not? That would be awesome. And you get some people, oh, you're not well traveled. You've never been out of the country and visited other countries. Yeah, you know what? Fuck you. Do I want to? Yes, of course I want to. Financially, can't do it. But the United States is fucking big. It'd take you 4 days to drive across it if you're running the speed limit, trying to actually get sleep and not power through it. I've done it in about 3.5. But that was on a schedule. Had to get from point A to point B in a certain amount of time. There was still a little time for a little bit of stops. I did North Carolina to Idaho in 36 hours. 3 12-hour days. That was rough. Right outside of Raleigh to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. On the way back, though, I actually had a little extra free time, and I got to stop and see Mount Rushmore and Crazy Horse and whatever the state park is that is right outside of Mount Rushmore. That was cool. Black Hills, I think it was the Black Hills. That was cool. That was neat. But what about robotics for cars? And you got Tesla, you got the robo-taxis, you got the Waymos, you got all that stuff. I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime, but it would be awesome to see RVs, let's say a nice RV, like a good 40-footer that actually has room to live, where you could get in that thing.
There's a stalled vehicle ahead.
And tell it where you want to go. Hard part about a 40-foot RV, though, is it's not going to fit everywhere. Like when I went to the Black Hills State Park, I would have never driven that thing through there. This little tiny van I'm in fit perfectly, but even a big van, like, the big Sprinter RV vans, that thing I don't think would even fit through that park, because there's these little tunnels you had to get through. But back on the robotics things, is it going to be an apocalypse? No. Are things going to be different? Yes. And you have to go with that change. For people that are in their 20s, okay, let's say you're not a programmer, but learn how to, and when I say programmer, like, the really smart guys that are in the AI programming and putting all the base programming for all this stuff to work, but you still need to know how to operate your robot. And if you don't learn to operate your robot and how to fix it when problems arise, or at least understand what's going on when problems arise, so that way you're more informed of what's wrong with your robot, and then you can call in service for it. If it's something simple, let's say an elbow joint goes out on your robot, learn how to replace that elbow joint. That's what YouTube will be for. You'll be able to learn how to replace that elbow joint. And you're going to actually have, a lot of AIs like, LLMs, like ChatGPT and stuff, to be able to ask it, hey, how do I replace the elbow joint on the right side, of my robot? And then it'll pull up a video and show you how to do it. And then another thought I thought of was LLMs specific case LLMs. Let's say electrical, the National Electrical Code, NEC. Let's have an LLM just for electric codes and how to rewire a light socket in your house, or how to make a new socket. What is the current code recommended? Yeah, a lot of it you can do yourself, or it might tell you you shouldn't and call a professional. Or even plumbing. What size pipe should I run from X to Y when I'm putting in a new faucet? Specialized LLMs. There's going to be a lot of those coming around, I think. Those are fun. I mean, the couple of videos you see me do, that's basically ChatGPT and just talking to it. But it still has restrictions on what it's allowed to tell me. I don't think I could pull it up and actually ask it, why does my right big toe hurt at times? And what kind of stretches I could do, or is it just an age thing? It's most likely an age thing, I'll tell you that for myself. But go check out the podcast, How to Stop Worrying and Love the Robot Apocalypse on Freakonomics. This is a good podcast. Catch you guys later.